I'm here with Piero Antinori, arguably, but for me, the greatest winemaker of Italy. Without Piero, there would be no history of great winemaking in Italy. But I have to ask him the three questions. Piero, tell me, what's your definition of a great wine?
Well, for me, a great wine, first of all, has to have personality. It has to be a wine with a distinctive wine, which you can recognize. That's the first thing, the most important. Then I think a great wine needs to be able to age well for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then I think a great wine has to be able to give you an hedonistic pleasure, mm-hmm. but also an intellectual pleasure. You have to know the winemaker, to know where it's made, the tradition of that location. So I think when a wine has all these things, I think for me, it's a great wine.
Fabulous. So the second question is, as a winemaker, what sort of inspirations do you have when you make wine?
I think that when you produce a wine, you always have a dream in your head, and the dream is to produce a perfect wine. Then obviously perfection is not something of this world, so every year you always have the same dream. You always try to interpret well the particular vintage, because there's no vintage which is exactly the same as the previous one, and so every year it's a different story. But I think that you always have in mind sort of the objective to try to produce a perfect wine. Every year is the same thing, because I think we will never be able to produce a perfect wine.
Okay, so the final question is, what's the greatest wine you've ever drunk in your life?
Well, I think there are two, actually, that I always...
Normally you're only allowed to one, but we'll give you two.
Well, there's always an exception.
Okay.
One is La Mission Briand 1959, which in my opinion was a fantastic wine, which I will always remember. And another one, it's more sort of personal thing. It's a 1967 Villa Antinori Chianti Classico, because it was my first vintage. It was a great year, a great vintage, and a great wine, I think. And so every time I am able still now to drink and to retaste the 67 Villa Antinori, it's always for me an emotion, because again, it's my first vintage, and also it still continues to be a great wine.
Actually, I know that wine. In fact, I drank it with you the first time I ever visited Italy in 1983.
Yeah, you have a good memory.
And I remember it perfectly, and it tasted like great Burgundy.
Burgundy, yes, yes.
Right?
Right, absolutely.
With beautiful mahogany,
yes.
cedar, plum.
Because that's the characteristic of the great Chianti Classico. When it's young, sometimes it's more similar, if you want, to a Bordeaux. When it's old, more similar to a Burgundy. It's incredible.
Well, I'm great. I share that with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rhubarb is fantastic about this wine. I really like them when they have this rhubarb coming out. And mostly as 2007 Pinot and 2008 Bizerno has that element coming to the back, coming to the end of the finishing of the taste. When you go down, that rhubarb is coming out, and it gives a sexy and unexpected element to me, at least, because I discovered that, and there was something at Ornellaia I was trying to get, the China ink and rhubarb, two retrobusti that I was never able to have them at Ornellaia. And instead, China ink, not yet, but rhubarb is coming along with the Petit Verdot. And the Petit Verdot, I think, so is offsetting a little bit sometimes the over-maturity of this wine. It gives them a little bit more, it's like if you have a dress which is loose, then all of a sudden the tailor comes and makes it a little more close-fitting. The Petit Verdot does that to the wine. It makes it more close-fitting in a way, metaphorical sense. and more like less boom, more
More
constrained.
fit structure.
Yeah, exactly, more structure, which I like about wine. So he has a
What was the
block.
9? How did he? How's the 9 different in blend to the 8? Do you know?
The 9
Less Petit Verdot?
in the Bizerno.
Yeah.
There is more Petit Verdot and a little more Cabernet Franc.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I think
It's
so.
much more diretto.
You are
Clean, fresh, beautiful, long, elegant. Less. I'm not so sure the rhubarb character is a good character. This has no rhubarb.
No, this is.
This is pure fruit.
Yeah.
I think the 209 Bizerno has more class and elegance than the 2008, and it's longer.
Longer, yes. There's a step.
It could be better.
That could be better. You know, also the vineyards are
Yeah.
1 year older. And
Really?
you tell me that
Figo.
the vintage is not as bad as people have expected.
No, I think 9's as good as,
You have
it's almost as
tasted?
good as 8. Yeah, I just did a huge tasting.
Ah,
30,
interesting.
3009s.
8, instead there is less, theoretically. Questo è l'8? Yeah, in 8, we went down 50% less Merlot. You can taste it immediately. The Merlot is vulgarizing.
This is so much better.
But Merlot is
No.
is a varietal of the past. I'm tired of Merlot now. I don't drink the Merlot so much anymore. But you know, the whole concept of
Whoa.
Masseto, we liked it at the beginning. There is an evolution. For instance, the Masseto is an incredible wine, of course. Masseto doesn't have an incredible wine. But the Merlot in that particular spot does very well because we discovered, there is a technicality, I give it to you as an that the wine planted originally, there were distance between one and the other in the old-fashioned way. Then when decided to replant a couple of acres and they made a closer planting, meaning that there are more plant per acre, you know, the traditional system of modern days, those portions did very bad. So what we discovered in this area, we have to get the best Merlot, we have to plant them wide apart in the clay, because it doesn't go to be too close to each other. They compete and they lack completely humidity, because they steal the humidity with each other plant, and then they start to, when there is no humidity, they start to extract sugar, because when there is no water in the plant, then they go into metabolize sugar to survive. As a natural process, and we couldn't figure it out. And in the Bizerno project, we planted the Merlot too close. Now we are going to eradicate one plant every 2. To create the old distance of Masseto in the old days, to get a Merlot which is less, you know, it goes, for instance, the problem is that with this Merlot, when they are planted so close with each other,
They get a bacio.
you get 21 Babo, let's say the 7th of September, you think, okay, we are waiting. Then you go back, and the heat stays like that, and in 3 days they go to 28, so
that's
you
right.
cannot control them. And this is something wrong.
Here on the Tuscan coast, in the area of Bolgheri, but wines aren't only made in Bolgheri. There's also a newer area called Bibona. And Ludovico Antinori is making wine at his estate, Tenuta di Bizerno. Ludovico's well known. He started Ornellaia. His family, the Antinoris, have been around for 600 years. But what he's doing now is really exciting. A new thing, a new place. For 3 or 4 years, making excellent wines. And I think your wines are getting better and better all the time. I love that Cabernet Franc, the Ludovico. But Franc seems to be the real thing here, Cabernet Franc. What do you think?
Yes, I think so. We found with the Cabernet Franc a great surprise and a great joy to be able to extract wine from that varietal of this caliber. We are very happy to have chosen that in the new project, and we are giving to that varietal more and more importance, and it will be the trademark of the Bizerno wine.
What are you trying to do differently at Bizerno than compared to Ornellaia?
Well, the number one thing is to drop the Merlot varietal, drop gradually the Merlot varietal, which is extraordinary. Merlot varietal does very well in Bolgheri, in the clay, as we know. But myself, I'm a little bit let's say, overwhelmed or tired by it, and I'm not excited so much by that varietal. So I'm very, very, the way I am, I need to be very motivated by something, otherwise I don't have the stimulation to go ahead on this tough business that we are going through now. And the Cabernet Franc and the Petit Verdot, those two varietals, they really create a great excitement because they have done and they giving us day by day more surprises of new style, of a new flavor, new element of layering and aging potential. So I think so with those two varietals is really this project that's going to sustain on those two major varietals, Cabernet Franc and Petit Verdot. The remaining French Bordeaux varietal will also be present, but in minor percentage. And in some cases, like in Ludovico, there will be probably none. It will be only Cabernet Franc and Petit Verdot.
Every region can express something through the wines. Sometimes I suggest to friends, have a couple of bottles on the table, and then you can Google it, where these wines are coming from. So sitting around the table, you can actually do a trip of the world. That makes a wine very intriguing. There are 14 of them, 12 in Tuscany, one in north of Italy, and one in Oregon. Let's start with Rialzi. That is pretty new for our family. We stepped into this estate in 2014 in the central part of Tuscany, in this area called Chianti Classico, and a lovely, interesting estate that is now over 200 acres of vineyard, where the variety is Sangiovese.
Cheers, Lamberto.
Cheers.
So I'm curious then, when you add new estates, what are you looking for? Do you know it instantly? Do you fall in love with the place, or does it take many years to understand it and know that it fits in the family profile?
I love wine. I love what it is around the wine, the vineyards, the cellar, the people. The great thing about wine is that if it's done properly and respecting the area where it's produced, it can tell you a great story each time. So why not to buy a new estate? Because you want a new story. That doesn't mean that in the old ones you are somewhat forgetting them back. Absolutely not. Actually, there is starts to be somewhat of a natural competition.
So all of the estates kind of learn from one another, sort of push each other a little bit harder.
Yeah, and it's very important what is in the glass, but it's also very important what is all around the glass. If we go to this estate, Perano, the scenery is just beautiful. The view is breathtaking.
Wine is usually from beautiful places, great wine. And Tuscany is extremely beautiful, but what else is it about Tuscany that makes it such a fantastic growing region?
You have the mountains all around Tuscany, so that it blocks the cold from the Siberia. And then you have the sea. You have many things. I must say that we are a little bit spoiled.
Oregon, how did you fall in love with that property and decide to venture into America?
Look, America is a little bit more opportunities rather than the old Europe. When we talk about global warming, it came pretty natural to go to look at cooler places like Oregon. Oregon Pinot Noirs are really something. And Pinot Noir is a very tricky.
Very finicky.
It's never perfect. And that's the reason why you fall in love with it. It was really love at first sight.
I can't wait to try it. As the 30th generation, how much flexibility did you have to change things versus staying traditional to what your family had always done?
If you are very traditional, soon you're going to be read on a book because everybody's going to pass in front of you. The past, it gives you respect of what you have and that you do not want to lose what you have inherited, but do not fall in love with the past. I am far more interested in what is going to happen tomorrow.
Well, I could talk to you all day, but that would be very selfish of me because you have many, many projects to manage and a lot of other people who I know would enjoy talking to you. So thank you so much, and I hope we can enjoy another glass together very soon. So,
Cheers.
Thank you, Lamberto. Cheers.
Thank you for your time.